What is up, everybody? Durell, the Whiskey Saint, back with another video, guys. And this is going to be completely new. Been trying to figure out some new content for you guys, and just came up with an idea that I know most of us always talk about, but I don't know how many really experimented with it. So, guys, what we're going to do today is actually dive into a bottle. It's a bottle everybody's seen. So it's a McKenna 10. But what I did is I fresh cracked this 2 weeks ago and I poured 6 ounces out of it, right from the neck, sealed them up, and let the bottle get some air, right? So, what I'm gonna do today is I have 3 Glens set up, and we are gonna do a little blind experiment and see if the one that's been sitting with all the air in it, for a couple weeks has a different taste. I've said it, and I know a lot of people said it. You get past the neck on some bottles and they change. So we're really going to put it to the test. I know I experienced it from what I think, with other bottles. But with that being said, guys, we're going to kick this show off, dive in, and see what the results are. So stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, hit that like, hit the subscribe. We're going to kick this off right now. Cheers. Welcome back, guys. And we are going to just dive right in and have a little fun with this. I'm pretty curious to see, I try to fill it as high to the top, to limit the amount of air. That's probably less air than what it was when it was actually in the bottle sealed. But we're going to pour about an ounce into, so I got 3 Glens, and you can see on the bottom, this one's labeled neck. So we're going to pour half this into that one. And the other one labeled neck, guys, just to keep this fair. Then we're going to twirl them around, mix them up. So I don't know what glass is what. Let me just make sure they're even, which they are. And I'm going to pour a little bit up from the one that's been sitting for a couple weeks. Just want to make sure it's same amount of alcohol, so I can't tell. I need a little bit more. Cool. Top that. And this one is labeled air, guys, which you can't really see because I don't want to spill, but we're going to mix these up in front of me. Let's see. Keep mixing. So right now I don't know where they're at, but we'll still mix them up a little bit more. All right. So I am just going to place this to the side. Got a little Glen carrier so they don't drop on me. And we're just going to dive in on the nose on all 3. Then we're just going to go into the palate to see if I can pick up any differences. And the funny thing is I haven't had this bottle in a very long time. Jeff did send it in one of our blinds, but that was the first time I had it in a couple years. Owned a couple, but typically gifted them to fellow friends. So not really familiar with the taste profile, but we'll see if I can pick up some differences, if there are any differences. So just your typical bourbon on this. You do get a decent amount of oak. That 10 years does come across. The color is actually pretty dark too. It's a pretty dark bottle. I'm not sure how dark they normally are, because I haven't had one in a while, but definitely picked up some good oak. Get a slight citrus note towards the middle to end, but it's dark, oaky, a little bit of spice, nothing crazy. All right, let's go into the next one. So this right off the bat comes off a little different. Hold on. Actually, no. This one smells pretty much the same as that. That first initial nose came across a little different. It seemed a little brighter, but it calmed down a bit. Yeah, these two smell the same to me. Let's go in and try glass number 3. And I'll keep glass number 2 in my left hand so I can kind of go back and forth. Very, very similar. I don't really pick up a difference on the nose. If I was to say, like, if I was trying to find a difference, like, I would think maybe this second glass is slightly different, like the initial nose, but then it kind of calmed down and fell in line with the rest. Yeah, still getting the oaky spice, a little bit of citrus that I got on the first two. Like, the noses are pretty identical to me. Let's go in for a taste, guys. Maybe that's where I can maybe see if there's a difference. Cheers, everybody. That's actually surprisingly pretty good. Like, it's Heaven Hill. Like, what am I really, expecting? But wow. And these bottles actually sit on shelves in my local store for, I believe, like $49 still. But I've honestly maybe drank one bottle that I own maybe 3, 4 years ago and just a sample. Like, I never drink it. This is tasty. They are single barrels, so they could switch up and not hit as much as this one seems to be hitting for me, but nice whiskey. A little brighter on the nose now after having that first sip. It's almost like an orange. Yeah, like a bright orange. Oh man, that's nice. All right, let's go in for a sip on a second one. Actually, let me take one more sip of this one so I can really get a good feel of it. That's a really good single barrel. What's funny, this is drinking similar to a E.H. Taylor single barrel that I have. Just really nice mouthfeel for 100 proof. That oak really translates on the palate. It's dark, rich, got a little bit of that citrus, that orange in there, but that's really nice. All right, we're gonna dive into B, guys. The one that came across slightly different initially on the nose, but that's me really trying to like pick it apart and like search for something. I want to see if something's really noticeable. This this is coming across darker than this glass. All right, let's go for a sip on B. Hmm. Let me rinse out because that drank way easier than the first one. I didn't get much spice on the back of the palate that I got off the first one on this one. So I'm gonna rinse out, reset, try it again. Probably gonna have to take a couple sips because that water is probably gonna dilute this first sip a bit. But diving back in. There's more of a spice, and that's even on the first sip after having water. Good whiskey. This is a really good single barrel. Wow. Just the back, the mid and the back of my tongue is just lit up. Like you would think this is higher proof. The way that the spice is translating on the tongue. Like this is, it's tingly. I'm literally getting like almost my whole tongue is like tingling right now. It's nice. Like numbed it up. Like if you put your tongue on like a little D battery, or not the D batteries, whatever the ones were, when you can kind of zap yourself a little bit. Going to reset again. We're going to keep it moving, guys. On to glass C. Dude, this B smells a little different. Like, I don't know why, and it could be all in my head. We'll find out in a minute when we reveal the three, but the profiles on the palette are very, very similar. Like, there's not much difference. It's very minimal for me on glass B. But let's see if this one tastes like either or. Maybe I can pull out the two that were, neck pours versus the one that's air. Potentially be guessing because I haven't really picked out like a strong note that's different from the other two so far, but let's go in. If I was to guess, this one drinks. Actually, I'm going to dive into the first glass just one more time. But my second and third glasses drink identical to me. I just want to taste the first one again and see if that drinks the same. Because I did think the second glass was slightly different than the first, and the third glass tastes identical to me as the second. So let's see if there's a little difference between the first one. Gonna need one more sip. I think that water tamed that sip down for me a bit because I'm lacking all that spice mid and back of the palate that I get off of these two. My tongue's not even tingling right now. So let's take another sip. Hopefully that water dissipated a bit so I can get a true gauge of this one. There's that spice. These, I can't really pick up a difference on this specific bottle. You know what's funny? I know, like, it's tough to say if it's like all in your head, right? Like, I really do not believe so because I've had a few bottles, Calumet 16 in particular. First crack, I did not like that pour. The more I drank it, the better it got, and it landed in my, I believe, like my top 16 whiskeys of last year. It was really, really good, and I love the bottle now. I can say the same for the Toasted Michter's Barrel Strength Rye. First bottle I had, I think the 2021, I believe it was, or 2020. Didn't like it. Got a burnt coffee bean note. Had that bottle sit and for maybe a year and a half, jumped into it and loved it. Like that coffee bean note was gone, So these for me are drinking very, very similar. If I was to guess, which it's a complete guess, guys, I would think maybe the first glass is the one that got air versus the second and third glass. I could be completely wrong, but that one just to me drinks just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit different. But it could be all in my head. So let's see. Fun experiment. I've kind of want to try this, on my own outside of the videos with a couple different bottles, because I know there was drastic changes between a couple, but this specific bottle for me right now, there isn't like a huge difference between the three, so it's more like a guess, but it was fun to do anyway with you guys. So with no further ado, let's see what they are. All right. So I think these two glasses are the same. So this would be the neck pours potentially, but we're going to take a peek and hopefully it is. If it's not, then I suck. Oh, no. See, I'm already wrong. So glass C was the one that got the air, and A and B were both neck pours, which I got a subtle difference initially on B. Then, like, it just, for some reason, the first one on the palate wasn't hitting me exactly like glass B, like mid to back with the spice. But the more you drink it, it does hit. But it's like I said, guys, I would be guessing. They were very, very similar on the palate and the nose. I couldn't really pick out any differences on the nose. And like I said earlier, the palate was almost identical to me, right? Like, you mix these up again and I'll probably still be wrong with this bottle specifically. But like I said, with some other bottles, Calumet 16, the Michter's, if I poured a neck pour versus how I tasted it like a year or so later, granted, that's a year, right, of getting air versus 2 weeks, that could play into it as well. But it was still fun to do nonetheless. So we're going to end this with the lone pour that was poured out 2 weeks ago from the bottle, the one that got some air. Have one more sip of that, guys, and we're going to end this off. And like I touched on earlier, guys, this specific single barrel, this is barrel number 14175, barreled January 15, 2013. This thing is actually a banger of a McKenna bottle. I haven't had many to really know how good these have been, but I know I did like Jeff's. I think it won our blind when he sent it. And this is damn good too. For $50, $49.99, a 10-year-old Heaven Hill age-stated product, bottled in bond. This specific one is pretty damn good. But yeah, guys, thanks for sticking with me. This was fun. I wish I could have maybe picked out one, but they pretty much taste identical. Like, you're literally searching for like the smallest difference to maybe figure it out. But with this bottle, this McKenna over here, I really couldn't pick out any differences between the two, but it was fun to do. So thanks for hanging with me, guys. Till next time. Cheers.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me.